delighted to be here with you as Mensah Oteh, and allow me to welcome you to today's session. I'm going to be talking about 4 specific laws of success. I believe that these laws have to be understood, but they also have to be applied in the respective areas of your life that you want to see improvement, you want to see growth. And by diligently applying the laws, you can create whatever results you want. Now, the laws in themselves are not new laws. This is not something that I've just come up with. They've existed as long as we know that life has existed. We know about the laws of gravity. We know about the laws of science. And life in itself and nature, and you and I, have to understand the universal laws, because the world is governed and is controlled by laws. If you understand the law of gravity, then you perhaps are aware of the fact that if you have anything of weight that is suspended above ground level, it has to come down. It's just the law in effect. Now, ignorance of the law of gravity doesn't erase the law. Similarly, we know about the various laws of science and the laws in various areas of perhaps physics and aerodynamics and maths. We have all those laws, and if we understand the laws, we can apply the laws intelligently in our respective lives to achieve what we want. I'm going to be talking about success laws, and these success laws apply to happiness, fulfillment, achievement, good health, good fortune. They can be applied to any area of life. They're not specific to success, because success in itself is a very subjective word. You and I have to define success based on what we believe it to be. For some people, it's material wealth. To another, it's simply living a life of purpose and a life of significance and a life of contribution. To another, it could also be a life of happiness and joy, spending time with loved ones. So the 4 laws I'm going to talk about are important. I'm going to do something quite unique and different to what I normally do. I'm going to focus on 3 key laws, and the final law, I'm going to go into the detail of it just to show you how the final law is the most important law. I call it the ultimate law. Now, the first law I'm going to talk about is the law of attraction. You may have perhaps watched or seen the movie The Secret. The movie The Secret was very instrumental in bringing to our understanding and bringing to our awareness the importance of thinking right, the importance of having positive ideas and thoughts and feelings, and how your ideas and feelings create the life you have. The law of attraction is important, but it's not the only law. Next, I'm going to talk about what I call the law of assumption. This is my favorite law, and I will explain the reason why it's my favorite law, but also why it's the most important law, and why it's even much more powerful than all the laws combined. Then I'm going to talk about the law of expectation, and finally the law of action. But let's start with the law of attraction. I'm going to keep this as simple as I can. Let's not try to make it too complicated. And I think the best way to understand the law of attraction is to think about a magnet. Think about a magnet. A magnet is the best device or instrument or substance that we can use to illustrate the power and the working principle of the law of attraction. Now, we understand the principle that if you have a magnet, and if you bring that magnet in close proximity to a metal, the force within the magnet attracts the metal close to it, and it will take you some level of effort or energy to separate both the magnet and the metal once they have come together. That is simply the law of attraction in action. In other words, if you have like like-minded thoughts, you can only attract like-minded ideas. Positive ideas will attract positive ideas. Similarly, negative ideas will attract negative ideas. It's really that simple. To attempt to attract a positive idea whilst holding a negative concept in your mind is a struggle against life. You cannot do it. It's almost impossible because it's violating the universal laws. In other words, you can think positive, you can think negative, but you cannot do both at the same time. One of the questions you can ask yourself is, in my present life, in my circumstances, in my day-to-day activities, what are the results that I'm getting? What are the results? What are the outcomes that I'm experiencing every day? Now, the results and the outcomes you have every day is evidence to the fact that you are operating the law of attraction. In other words, if you're happy with the results you're getting and the outcomes you're getting, then it means that you are attracting what you're getting. Say that again. Look at your life and look at the results you've created. Look at the results you have on a daily basis. The results you have in your life is evidence to how you're thinking. The great writer says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. In other words, if you think negatively, then you become and you attract negative concepts, negative people, negative feelings, negative ideas. But on the other hand, if you think positively, then likewise you attract positive people, positive ideas, positive feelings, and positive thoughts. So the law of attraction is simply a mindset. If I can use that word, is a mindset that teaches you how to think. It simply says, think based on what you want in your life. If you want good things in your life, then think good thoughts. If you want to have great feelings, then you must have great positive feelings within you. Now, the law of attraction is not the beginning process to attracting success. As a matter of fact, there is a law that comes before the law of attraction. And that law is called the law of expectation. Expectation. Now, the law of expectation precedes the law of attraction. In other words, the attraction is a byproduct of your expectation. I often say this: by thought, what you want is created. By expectation and feeling, it's sent to you. But by action, you receive it. So the law of expectation precedes the law of attraction. In other words, feeling is the secret. It's all about feeling. The law of expectation can be illustrated in a very simple way. It's about attitude. It's about your attitude. Your attitude is simply a combination of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. Together they form your attitude. See, the law of expectation deals with, it goes beyond the law of belief. In a way, the law of expectation can be likened to what we call the law of belief, or the law of faith. But you see, belief in itself is incomplete, because belief is like having a thought or having a feeling. Faith is also similar to having a thought and a feeling. However, expectation is combining belief and faith, but demonstrating your belief and faith by action. Now, that action is not action in terms of what you do just physically. Action is the highest expression of your faith. Expectation is faith demonstrated. I think that's so powerful. I think I should say that again. Expectation is the highest expression of your faith in demonstration. In other words, let's use a good example of saying, perhaps you have a desire. You have a desire for maybe a new car. Let's use that as a good example. You have a desire for a new car. You want a new car. That's your desire. You have belief in the fact that you can have a new car. You have faith. Now let's define both. Faith, some people say, is substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. Now I think that's a limiting, in a way, a limiting definition. So let me explain faith in a different way. Faith is what I call loyalty. Loyalty to what you cannot see. It goes beyond belief. Faith is having loyalty to what you haven't seen with your natural eyes, but you've seen in your imagination. So, expectation goes beyond the imaginative act of creating what you want, and it goes a step further, whereby you start demonstrating your faith by action. So going back to the example of you wanting a car, you have the belief that you can get the car. Now that belief might go as far as you saying, I'm going to call the agents and find out how much the car is. When I found out how much the car is, I'm going to have faith that I can get it. Expectation, on the other hand, is you taking a journey down to the agent's office to go and see the car that you want. But it doesn't stop there. When you've seen the car, that reinforces your faith. However, expectation is demonstrated where perhaps you go back home, you ring your insurance company and you say to them, I'd like to make arrangements to change my policy. I am expecting a new car. This is the model. This is the type. This is the details of the car. I expect it to be here in about 4 weeks. So I want to make a change in advance of receiving it. It hasn't arrived yet, but you're taking what I call steps in preparation. Expectation is simply preparation in advance. The car is not there yet, but you're making preparation in advance. Now, you might even go a step further of perhaps constructing a new garage for your new car because you perhaps are not comfortable with leaving it on the driveway or leaving it on the side of the road. You start constructing in your home a garage where you can park your car, but the car hasn't arrived yet. Now that is expectation. By thoughts, you create what you want. By expectation and feeling, it's sent to you. Now, by taking action, you receive it. Now that is how the law of expectation works. Now let me move quickly and talk about the law of action. This is where most people struggle, and I don't consider myself to be an exception to that. The law of action comes with a requirement. The requirement of the law of action is that it says, what would you dare to dream if you knew you could not fail? What would you attempt if you were guaranteed success? Whatever that is, the law of action says. And this is a controversial word. Pretend. Pretend. In other words, act as though you already have it. Now, I love a story about Arnold Schwarzenegger. When he was asked a question about how he was able to become a 7-time Mr. Olympia, become a governor of the state of California, and become a movie star, a Hollywood box office movie star, one of the highest paid during his time, he said something that I thought was very fascinating. Now, he had traveled all the way from Austria with a dream. He had an idea. He had a dream. He had a purpose. He had a vision. He had a desire. And he journeyed all the way to the United States in pursuit of that dream. Then he achieved the dream, becoming a 7 times Mr. Olympia. Then he set another dream. He had another goal. He had another vision. He said, I want to become a movie star. But he didn't have any of the qualities, physical, credentials, experience of a movie star. His dream was far-fetched. He wanted to be the best. Now, you've got to understand how elusive this dream sounded. Here is this guy with a monstrous build of a bodybuilder, huge muscles, bulking, huge muscles. But he was trying to break into Hollywood at a time when the reigning Hollywood actors and actresses were very slim. They were very, less muscly. In addition to this, he had come from Austria. He was an American. He had a very thick Austrian accent, which wasn't going to be accepted amongst not just the producers and the script writers and the Hollywood A-listers, but it wasn't going to be accepted by the public. But he had a dream. Now, he had tried to make his first movie, and he failed. It was a disaster. And he was asked the question, you had a dream of becoming a movie star. You failed. This was his first attempt making a film. You have failed. What are you going to do next? And he said, I'm going to become the #1 box office movie star in all of Hollywood. Now think about this. At this point in time, it just didn't make sense. Most people would have thought, you're delusional. You've just attempted to break in and you failed. But the person interviewing him was quite interested in his philosophy of life and psychology. And they asked, how do you intend to do this? And he said, I'm going to achieve this new goal just the same way I achieved my first goal. I'm going to create a picture of who I want to be. Then I'm going to live into that picture as though it were already real. I haven't achieved it, but I'm going to apply the law of action and I'm going to pretend as though I am who I want to be now. I'm going to start taking action as though it were already real. Now he did that and he achieved his dream. Then he decided he was going to become the governor of California. A lot of people thought it was a joke, but he achieved it again. Now here is the point. You must be willing to do daily and consistently whatever will take you to your dream. Now, in the present state, when you begin that journey, it seems stupid. It may seem illogical. It might seem insane because all of the evidence will suggest that something is not working. But the law of action simply states, create a picture of what you want, have a dream, have a goal, and act like that person right now. Don't wait until you become that person. You have to behave like that person today. And by behaving like the person you want to become, through action, you activate the law of attraction. This is where the law of attraction kicks in. Most people believe that the law of attraction means you just have to sit in your living room on your couch and wish and wish and wish. No. The law of attraction requires that you create a picture of who you want to be, what you want to do. You expect it to happen. You take action as though it had already happened. And by taking action, you set up the law of attraction. By taking action, what you're doing is you're taking the piece of magnet and you're moving the magnet close to the obstacle, to the metal you want to attract. And by getting in close proximity to what you want draws closer to you. That's the law of attraction based on the principle of the law of action. The key is you can choose to take normal action. You can choose to take 10x action. You can choose to take 100x action. It's all a matter of choice. The level of activity you put in decides how quickly you achieve your goals and dreams. Now, this nicely brings me into the fourth law. The fourth law is the most important of all the laws. It's my favorite law, but also in many ways it contradicts everything I just shared with you. It's the law of assumption. The law of assumption. Now there are two parts to what I've shared with you today. The first follows a sequence: expectation, action, attraction. Now this first part of what I've shared with you will create what you want in life. However, this requires on your own efforts. You see, there are two kinds of people in the world. There are those who go about trying to achieve everything they want based on their efforts. And there are those who have understood the principles of life and they don't walk by their efforts. They walk by grace. That's a different word. The law of assumption deals with grace. I know what that might suggest to you. You might be thinking this is perhaps impractical, unrealistic. But hear me out very carefully, because if you understand the law of assumption, then you recognize that everything that you want, you can receive if you understand the power of assumption. Everything you want, you can receive as a gift. You have two ways to live. You can choose to live in such a way that everything you have will come to you as a gift. Or you can decide that you are going to be responsible for the labor and all of the pain required to get what you want. And what is the law of assumption? And how does it apply? And why is it different to the law of expectation, the law of action, or the law of attraction? Assumption simply means that you go into your imagination. Now, assumption requires the use of what we call your higher faculties. All of us, we have what we call a mind. Part of our mental mind comprises of what we call faculties of the mind. We have what we call our sensory faculties, and we have what we call our higher faculties. Our sensory faculties are 5: sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. Everything you can see around you, you can observe because you're using the sensory faculty of sight. When you see with your eyes, we call that sight, a function of your eyes. When you hear a sound, you're using your ears. When you taste something, you're using your palate. When you touch a hot object and you retreat, you're using the sense of touch. All of those are your sensory faculties. You and I have been taught, and we are taught at a very young age, how to use our sensory faculties. However, we also have what we call the higher faculties. The higher faculties is where all greatness lies. It's where all success, happiness, joy, good fortune, prosperity, good health reside. If you want to achieve a level of success that far exceeds what many might consider to be possible, you have to understand your higher faculties. Now, what are your higher faculties? Imagination, intuition, perception, will, reason, and your memory. There are 6 of them. I'm going to talk about one of them, imagination. Imagination is where the law of assumption thrives. Imagination. Your imagination is a power, but it's also wisdom. Your imagination is power and it's wisdom. You and I control the power. You and I control the wisdom by what we feed the imagination. Your imagination requires pictures. It requires words. It requires speech. Your mind works like a soil. The soil cannot distinguish between what's good and evil or good and bad. If you put a seed in soil, if it's corn, you get a harvest. If it's poison, you get a harvest. Your imagination is simply power and wisdom. Your imagination doesn't distinguish. So what your imagination needs are thoughts. Whatever thoughts, whatever ideas that you impress on your imagination will produce results. So, the law of assumption works on the principle that you have to decide what you want. Know what you want. Now, once you have a picture of what you want, you must assume that what you want is already yours. Now, I understand how crazy this sounds, but it works. You have to assume that what you want is already real. There's a story about Mary Kay Ash. Really remarkable lady if you understand and if you know her story. She's walking down the hotel lobby, and as she walks past a lady, one of the maidens, the lady looks down and depressed, and Mary Kay Ash stops and says to her, "How are you today?" And the lady says, "Not very good." Then she goes into this long tirade of all of her problems. Now Mary Kay Ash says to the lady something that I want you to think about. She says, "Young lady, you have to fake it until you make it." Now, don't take that out of context. You've got to understand the context within which I'm giving that illustration, but also the context within which the advice was given. Mary Kay Ash wasn't asking her to be fake or false. She was asking her to use the law of assumption. In other words, decide what you want. Forget what might seem visible in reality. Believe in the image in your imagination. Believe in the image you've created. Hold fast to that assumption that what you have seen in your mind is what's real. And the strength of your assumption will change your reality. I like the film Inception. There's a part of the film where Leonardo DiCaprio says, we created, in our dreams, we created a world, and that world became more real than our real world. Now I'm going to say something very controversial here, and I offer no apologies. And here is the point. If you want to use the law of assumption, you have to be willing to create a picture of what you want, a desire, a dream, a goal, a vision, a purpose in your imagination, and assume that it's been achieved. Now, once you've assumed that it's been achieved, the question you should ask yourself is, how will I know? How would you know when you achieve that dream? Now, for example, you could say, if I have a car, if I get the car that I'm trying to get, how would I know that I have it? Well, your neighbors might come across and say, you look good in this new car. What is this car I see you driving? You have a new car. That's how you know. It's confirmation, because we all see the world from our perspective. So standing right here now, what I see is based on the position and place from which I stand and from where I look. So to describe my world, I have to describe my world from what I see. You have to decide what you would see, how you would know that you've achieved it. And once you have a picture of what you would know and how you see your world, that becomes the feeling that you have to live in. I'll say that again. You want to buy a car, you don't have it yet. The law of assumption says, what do you want? You say, I want a new car. Okay. How would you know when you have achieved that goal you have of having a new car? You say, other people, my neighbors, will recognize and perhaps will say to me, I like your new car. You look good in your new car. You might also say things such as, I might receive confirmation statement from the bank in regards to a change in my monthly payments, or in relation to perhaps a payment I've made, but there has to be evidence to what has changed as a result of you now fulfilling or living that life you want. The key to the law of assumption is feeling. Now you have to live in the feeling of your wish fulfilled. I want to take you a step back, because you ask, how can I do this? And this is where I bring in your mind again. I said that your mind has factors, your sensory factors and your higher faculties. And I'm saying you have to use imagination. And your imagination must be used strongly, and you must allow your imagination overrule your five senses. Your sense of sight will tell you that you do not have a car because you cannot see a car. You might be driving an old jalopy, who knows? Your sense of touch might say, well, this is not the steering wheel of a BMW X7, X6, whatever the model might be. Your sense of smell might say, the car you're driving now does not smell like a brand new car. Your sense of sight might say, well, look at the dashboard, you have 100,000 miles. A new car would be less than, who knows, 120 miles. Everything by your senses will suggest that what you're acting like is false, it's not true. However, in your imagination, you have to bring in your sensory faculties in your imagination. You give your dream what we call sensory vividness. In other words, from that position, you can see and you can hear people say to you, I like your new car. You can see the car in your mind's eye. You can see yourself driving it. You can smell the fragrance in the car of something new. You can interact with people. Perhaps you have kids. You can hear your kids say, Mom, this new car is much better than the old car. You're bringing in your senses into your imagination to create feelings. You're getting emotionally involved with that idea, that picture of what you want. Once you've given this idea or this dream sensory vividness, you've activated the law of assumption. It's done. It's done. Once you've done that, let it be. The law of assumption works. It works based on the principle of what we call the seed, soil, and harvest. Your responsibility is to take the seed. The soil is your imagination. The soil is rich. The seed is your idea. But the seed and the quality of the seed depends on how well you use your law of assumption and how well you emotionalize the idea. If you have strong emotions and you put this seed in soil, you will get a harvest. So once you've created that idea using the law of assumption, in your mind, now understand something. When I talked about the first three laws, I said, first you have expectation. Next, you take action, physical action. You start acting like the person you want to be. You're taking action. Then what you want is attracted based on the action you take. In other words, the three laws depend on what you do. Cause and effect. This is dealing with cause and effect. You have to do something to get something. The law of assumption, on the other hand, deals with grace, something different. It simply says, the world is yours. You have to simply decide what you want. And although you might have to do something, it's not your action or activity or your efforts that creates what you have in life. It's a gift. So there are two people, or two classes of people. There are those who will live, and I've done this, and I'm learning now to live in grace, where you want to do everything by your strength, by your efforts, by your commitment, by your hard work. And today I'm learning how to live in grace. In other words, I just decide what I want. I live with the law of assumption and I attract it. It comes to me. Now here is the point. With the law of assumption, you receive what you want as a gift. It's not your hard work that determines what you get. Once you've created the idea, you've planted the idea in your imagination, it's done. What separates you from your idea and the fulfillment is what we call a period. That period, some people call the waiting season. In other words, there is a time to sow, there is a time to reap. You cannot sow and reap in the same time and at the same season. You have to plant the seed and let it be. At the right time, the harvest will come. Your responsibility is simply to wait. You wait with expectation, you wait with faith, you wait with hope, you simply wait. That's how the law of assumption works. Now, the key point I want to make from the law of assumption is this. You will have what we call a series of events. So let's use the example of a car. You plant the seed in your head, in your mind, in your imagination. Now that doesn't simply mean the car will just appear on your driveway. No. What it simply means is You don't have to go chasing down every single deal to get the right car. What it means is there will be a series of events, there will be things that happen along the way that very uniquely and in a way that you cannot explain guide you towards making the right decisions and being in the right place at the right time so that you achieve that fulfilled desire. It will have nothing to do with, or rather it will have less to do with your efforts. It will simply be a gift, and although you will be taking some level of action and activity, the activity you take, you will know that it had less to do with your actions. You will realize in you that this was something unique, that it was simply grace. Now here is the point, as I bring this to a close. When you've activated the law of assumption, when you've planted the seed in your imagination and you've let it be, at the right time, the harvest comes. The question is, what do you do in between? Obviously, you take action. You could act as though you already have it. There's nothing that stops you from acting like the person you want to be. But you must learn not to think that your effort is what is going to create your reality. Imagination creates reality. And the secret is in the feeling, the law of assumption. Now let me bring all of what I've shared today to a close. I've talked about 4 laws. If you've just joined, I've talked about 4 laws. I started with the law of expectation. Then I talked about the law of attraction, the law of action, and finally we've ended with the law of assumption. Most people understand the law of attraction from the premise that if you think negative thoughts, then you attract negative things, and vice versa. If you think positive thoughts, you attract positive people and things and ideas. The law of attraction is not the ultimate law. The law of expectation precedes the law of attraction. However, the law of action must be in place for you to attract what you want into your life. So you have a sequence: expectation, action, attraction. Now that is when we're trying to achieve our dreams and goals by our own efforts. We're doing it by strength, by might. The great writer says it's not by might, it's not by power, but it's by your will. What is the will? Imagination. The law of assumption, on the other hand, sits slightly separate to this action, expectation, attraction, what I call cocktail. The law of assumption simply says, if you can have the faith to assume that what you want in your imagination is already yours, if you can assume and live in that feeling of your dreams, your wishes, your desires, your goals, your purpose already fulfilled, then what you want is created. And in a time and in a way that you do not understand, you will go through a series of events that lead you towards the accomplishment of what you want. Now, as I close, this is my recommendation. Why don't you try both? Why don't you try both? Why don't you try the law of assumption and see if it doesn't work? Now, here is the point. The law of assumption always works. The soil is always good. The soil is rich. The problem lies in the seed. You and I must be what I call loyal farmers. We take a seed, we put the seed in the ground and we let it be. Most people unfortunately have what we call doubt. Now, doubt is the opposite of faith. Doubt and faith cannot coexist in the same place at the same time. I said something earlier on. You can think negative, you can think positive, but you cannot do both at the same time. If you have doubts, doubts will, in a way, diminish all of your dreams just as quickly as faith can help you build your dreams. Now, most people, and many people, like I used to be for a long time, we would plant a seed, and after the first 10 days, if we don't see any harvest, we got worried. We would dig up the soil only to see that the seed is still in the soil. Now, that reminds me of a very unique piece of story I want to share with you. In the Far East, there's a tree called the Chinese bamboo tree. It's a remarkable tree in that you plant the seed in the ground, and for 4 years, nothing happens. You water the ground, you nurture the ground, you care for the ground, you protect the soil, nothing happens for 4 years. Every day, consistently, you're working, you're laboring, and you see no fruits of all of your labor. However, in the 5th year, within a space of 5 weeks, the same tree that didn't grow for 4 years begins to grow. And within that 5-week period, it grows by more than 90 feet tall. It grows so quickly that if you were standing right in front of the tree and observing it during the 5-week period, you could see the tree grow right before your eyes. It's that quick. Now here is the powerful question. Did that tree grow in 5 weeks, or did it grow in 5 years? Now many people might say 5 weeks, because after all, that's when it began to grow. However, I want to suggest to you that if during the 4-year period you got bored of waiting and you dug up the same seed, then you would never have had a harvest. That's what many of us do every day. We plant a seed, we don't see a harvest, we dig it up, we take it to another soil, we put it in the ground, we don't see a harvest, we dig it up, and so we go from year to year without achieving our dreams or our goals. Why? Because we don't have faith. Now, I said something at the start, that faith is loyalty to what you've seen in your imagination and holding true to that loyalty and staying faithful until you see it in reality. In other words, you have to live by vision, not by sight alone. You've got to use your imagination to see and hold on to that vision you have in your imagination until your reality changes to become what you've seen and have always seen in your imagination. So you and I have a choice. We have a choice to live every day as though we are responsible for creating every single thing in our world. In other words, we live here as though we are servants. We work hard, we struggle, we think it's by effort and strength and focus and hard work, or we can live like kings and queens that we were born to live. In other words, this is our world, and all we have to do is imagine what we want, and it becomes reality. Why? Because we have a mind, and we have the power and the wisdom of the imagination. Now, I hope that's been useful. I want you to try what I've shared with you today. You can go by the first, 3 laws, expectation, action, attraction. I call that the efforts principle. Or you can go by what I call the grace principle. And the grace principle follows the law of assumption. Interestingly, here is the point. Both of them will get you what you want. One of them will give you what you want with little or no effort. The other will require a lot of your time, a lot of your effort. Faith is loyalty to the unseen in your imagination. Now let me take this opportunity to wish you the best. Whatever you decide to do, I hope you found something probably perhaps worth listening to. I want to hear from you, so try both of the 2 options and see which works for you. Now, for so many years, I lived on the option of my efforts. Today, I even have to literally physically discipline myself not to try to do everything by my strength and by my power, but to try and embrace grace. I want you to try the same. I wish you the best of luck. God bless.